Hi, my name's Mike, and this is the Autistic Politician. Now, any kind of story needs the background, so this is the prerequisite explanation of my journey of 40 years to try and find a political home. I was quite interested in politics from an early age. About 13, I joined a lot of the environmental groups like Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace, and a lot of animal rights groups, because I thought that things should be better. And as part of that, I joined the Young Liberals. They had a really good policy platform, which I felt answered a lot of the things that I was looking for. It was a mixture of liberty, but at the same time, social responsibility. And it made me feel, this is something that I believe in. This is something I want to see happen. And I still think that the Young Liberal manifesto back then is the best manifesto I've seen. Now, being a Young Liberal, I formed a local group with friends from school and some other people who are young children of the Liberal Party group. And we met regularly, and we had a seat on the grown-up Liberal Party table. And we basically did, a lot of the local election helping. We did delivering leaflets, knocking on people's doors. And I learnt an awful lot in those few years about how to run a campaign. There was a chap called Bob Dolan, and he was the Liberals guru. And I learned everything I could from him. He was, he said how to do leaflets in between elections, how to sort of address people's concerns. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed talking to people, hearing their concerns. Of course, at that age I was very opinionated and was very busy to tell them what the answers were. But it was a good introduction to politics and community politics. I wasn't enamoured when the Liberals and the SDP sort of merged, kind of drifted out of activity. I helped out in the 87 election, which was the first election I could vote in. Accompanied the candidate on most of his door-to-door knocking and canvassing. But by that point, my heart wasn't really in it anymore. When I moved to London, I joined the Green Party in 1989. They just had a big success in the European elections, and they reflected my concerns about the environment. They reflected a lot of the things that I wanted to see, and so I got involved in the local Green Party. I wasn't very active, so I was saying, there's elections coming up, we must stand, we've got to get some. So I helped sort of revitalise them a bit. I think they were just glad that there was somebody new, somebody who was actually wanting to do things. So I stood for election. I did quite well, but that community aspect that I'd sort of brought from the Liberals wasn't there. This whole idea of knocking on doors and talking to people and getting involved in community groups, they weren't really interested in that. Their idea of an election campaign was to have a protest on a roundabout, which, good fun, but it doesn't really strike at the heart of what most people are concerned about on a day-to-day basis. I left London I think it was about 1991, moved to Chatham, got involved with a local Green Party there. It was a similar story. There wasn't an active group, but we got a sort of group together. And again, there wasn't an awful lot of enthusiasm for doing much. It was, they'd have the meetings, but the idea of standing for election, well, that's old politics, and it was a bit disillusioning when I stood for election and again did quite well. So I just kind of lost interest, and that was it really for me in politics. Wasn't involved again for a long time. I joined the parish council. Well, I moved again around the turn of the millennium, joined my local parish council in 2002 because I wanted to do things. I wanted to do things for my local community. I thought, if you can't moan if you're not going to do something yourself. So I got involved at a parish level. enjoyed that. I'm still a parish councillor over 20 years later. And in 2004, I joined the Labour Party. Now, this is a time when not many people were joining the Labour Party because they weren't being very popular in government, and they didn't stand for an awful lot that I believed in. But it was better than the opposition, and I guess I just didn't really want a Conservative MP. I'd had lived with one for most of my life, and I wasn't very impressed. And yeah, I thought it would be nice if we had a Labour MP. We'd got one in 2001, 1997 and 2001. It had gone Labour. It looked really tight, so I thought I'll join up and help. So I joined up to help the local MP on the campaign, and then went on to stand for election a couple of times. Again, I did quite well. I think it's because I just enjoy talking to people. I enjoy knocking on the doors. I enjoy listening to people's concerns and trying to help. That's what drives me, and I think that probably resonates with a lot of you. Hearing people's problems and wanting to do something about it. Now, there are downsides to this, which I'll talk about in another video. It can be quite an emotional strain, but I'll talk about that, as I say, in another video. So I stayed in the Labour Party, and that's when I really first started to find out what party politics is like. People will be talking to each other in a meeting, and then they'll go to a pub afterwards, and then you see the factions. Yeah. Oh, we don't want X. X is no good. We don't want X. No, we've got to get Y in. And it's like, well, hold up. Y doesn't live in the area. X does, and X seems perfectly fine to me. And I found this factionalism really quite not what I liked. I now understand that's pretty much what happens in every political party, in every political branch. But it came as a shock to me. I didn't think you were nice to people and then slagged them off. Again, that's something that will probably feature in another video, because a lot of us do have problems with people not telling the truth, or people putting up a false front. A lot of us do it ourselves to try and cope as a coping mechanism, but that lack of honesty is something that I struggle with. So I'd rather tell somebody up front, no, I don't want you there. Anyway, that was my experience in the Labour Party, and there's also an increasing amount of central and regional control on the local group, on the local party, and it's like, who are these people who know nothing about where we live to start saying you've got to have an all-woman shortlist, and you've got to select these people, not these people, because these people might not be supporters of Gordon Brown or Tony Blair or whatever. And you saw some people who I thought talked a hell of a lot of sense, and I agreed with, being marginalised because they weren't on message, they weren't saying the right things, and it was pretty disillusioning. And by 2009, I stood again, didn't do too well, and I just thought, this is, I have got real trouble with this party now. The National Party was changing its message. I don't have a mind switch which changes how I think. I think what I think, unless somebody can give me reasoned arguments in a different way. I can't just mind flip and start arguing a whole new strategy. So, for a number of reasons, I left the Labour Party at the end of 2009. 2010, I joined UKIP. Always been against the EU. I hate the idea of distant governance. I think governance should be as local as possible. And the whole Tony Benn attitude to the EU summed my feelings up. Who are you? How do we get rid of you? Oh, we can't. It's that to me is not a comfortable future. I hate the idea of a monoculture where everybody has to do the same thing, where all the cultures, the rich cultures of Europe, are subject to global capitalist benefit. Got a bit political there, but sorry. But anyway, that's why I was against the EU, and I hung around with the UKIP chaps for a little while to see if they were as bad as people were making out, and I found they weren't. There was a broad mix across UKIP. There were people who were on the economic right wing, on the economic left wing, social libertarians, very strict social conservatives. There was a real gamut of people there. So you could always find somebody who agreed with you and somebody else who disagreed. Actually, most of them, really nice group. And I was able to bring my electioneering strategies, my electioneering knowledge from the 80s and start applying it to UKIP's local elections. And we started doing really well. We were getting results across Kent, because quickly other people in Kent realised that, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, we might as well get him on board. So I was travelling around doing by-elections all over the place. And my attitude was, I either run it, because then I know what's happening and we'll have a programme, or I'll just do as somebody tells me. Don't come in and ask me for advice and then ignore it, or ask me for advice and do something different and then ask me for some more advice. It's like, no, I'm either in control or I follow orders. That's, there is no middle bit, because I need to know what's happening. And if I don't know what's happening, I'll just do as I'm told and get on with it. So we had some really good results. I got elected to the county council in 2013, got elected to the borough council in 2015. I led the local UKIP group on the council, and we were quite effective. I was very keen that we talk to other groups and other councillors. I was never one for just saying, we've got to batten down the hatches and hold up a flag just on our own behalf. We've got to actually work with other parties and other people to get things done. And on both the borough council and the county council, we were the official opposition. So this isn't a play around now. We've actually got to come up with cohesive, proper policies that can be implemented, and then try and get the main party to adapt them. If they adapt them and take the credit for them, fine. At least we can show in our leaflets we'd already asked for it. So it was about trying to work with people to get good outcomes. And that was fine until basically Gerard Batten took over and UKIP became a foul, toxic mess. So it was around 2017 I left UKIP. I think there's 9 of us on the council, and 8 of us decided to leave. We formed we called ourselves the Swale Group. But in the run up to the 2019 elections, I found I was quite happy as an independent. I didn't have to answer to anybody. I didn't have to change my mind because I've been told from on high that this was the new policy. I was able to work with people from all the different parties without, oh, you can't talk to them or you mustn't talk to them. So I found actually this is where I'm comfortable as an independent. And what I did was I got a group of other people who felt like that as well. We were very much driven by the ridiculous housing targets that were shoved on Kent. But we got together and we had about 15 of us stand in the local elections in 2019, and we got about 10 elected. So that was really good. We formed an alliance of independents so that we could each help each other campaign and get our leaflets out, and we had principles, not policies. We would tell the truth, and it was just a nice feeling that we had these people, all of whom were also independent minded, just wanting the best for their residents. And I felt more comfortable than I'd ever felt in any political party. We didn't all agree on everything. We had some who were on the left, some who were on the right, but at local politics level, what you're trying to do is achieve the best for the people, achieve the best for your local communities. And on that, we all agreed. We could do this, we could do that. And in the 2019 election, we became the second largest party again. But this time there was no overall control. So we went into a 5-party coalition. Basically, the Conservatives had run the council. They had this dreadful housing policy. They'd been rotten to us all in opposition, and this was an opportunity to form a anyone but Conservatives coalition against them. So we formed a coalition with Labour, the Lib Dems, the Greens, another couple of independents, and what we called ourselves was the Swale Independents. So we had 5 groups. We formed a coalition. I was made the deputy leader and a cabinet member of planning. And at this point, I kind of realised all these years that I'd been having issues, I'd always carried it on my own shoulders. How I behaved, how I reacted, I took the knockback. But now I realised, actually there's other people. I'm on a team here, and if I kick off or have a meltdown, it's going to impact on them as well. And that's when I came out of the closet. That's when I told people I was Aspergic, and that will be some of the there might be some consequences. And I think that is for the next video. Thanks for watching. I hope that wasn't too boring. I thought it was necessary to get that out of the way so that I can then talk about the responses and the problems that autistic people have and how I've got around them or how I've dealt with them. But yeah, I had to get that out of the way first. Hope to see you again. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike. This is the Autistic Politician.